Well, I got another one. So I wanted to share a little bit with you about malicious email. When you get all of these emails, how can you tell that something is or is not malicious or uh, fraudulent or points to somewhere that you don't want to go, etc.? How do you take a look at an email and how can you gain insight? Now, I will point out that email analysis is it's an art. It's not a science. Because if you could analyze everything using some sort of tool and it definitely said, yes, it's malicious, then it would have already been in your mail filters and wouldn't have arrived in your inbox in the first place. So be aware that email analysis is more of an art than a science. There are going to be some things you're going to look at and you're going to say, that looks fishy, but it really is okay. There are going to be other things you're going to look at and say, that looks pretty okay, and yet it's not. So be aware that email analysis is not 100% or zero. All right. So I wanted to point out this email that I got in my Yahoo inbox. I'm going to start by showing you an email that I got over in my Gmail account so we can compare a couple of these. You notice also that I'm using the web version of Gmail and Yahoo Mail. I'm not using the apps or anything, and I'm using them on my desktop in my web browser, which I currently use Google Chrome. So your results, some of your options, etc., may be different because you may not be using the exact same setup that I am. But let's take a look at this. This is an email that says it's coming from CISA, and it's about the Polish energy sector cyber incident back in December. Okay, how can you tell that's for real? Sure, it looks valid, but how can you tell? How can you be more assured after examining it? Well, I'm going to go over here to the, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to go over here to the far right-hand side, and there's 3 dots that says more. If I click on it and go down near the bottom, it says show original. Now, you may or may not know this, but our email messages are usually in what's called HTML format. That's how come we can get links, we can get different color fonts, we can get indents, we can get bullets, and we can get graphics. All of those are the result of HTML, just like a web page. So when your email is being viewed in this fashion, it's using HTML content. I'll show that to you now when I say show me the original. And here's what the email actually looks like when it arrives at the mail server. A lot different than that pretty little message that we saw earlier. So as we're looking at it, the good news is Google actually provides this summation of the email, and it says things like message ID, who it's from, who it's addressed to, what the subject is, and then it gives these 3 things: SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. I'm not going to talk too much about those, but you notice it says pass, pass, pass. That's usually a good thing. If you're interested in learning more about SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, which I really strongly recommend you do so for email analysis, go into the CyberSecurity Sensei YouTube channel and look this one up. It says Incident Response Team and Fish Tool Demo. And if you notice right there on the screen when I hover over it, it says SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. So take a look at that if you want to learn more about those 3, and those are really important. So let's go back to the original message, and you notice it's all in gobbledygook. It's just in regular text. Well, the same thing happens, by the way. I'm saying pass, pass, pass is a good thing. So to me, I'm pretty much convinced that that email from CISA, or said it was from CISA, is valid. and wasn't a hijacked mail or somebody who was spoofing. But yet, when I look at this one, and again, I'm in my web browser and I'm looking at Yahoo, so it's a little bit different. I'll click on the three dots and I'll say view raw message. And here we go again. These look, we're looking at another text message, and then we have to sort of get some ideas on it. But you notice this says DKIM pass, SPF pass, DMARC fail. And so again, it's not 100% or 0%. These are indicators. And oh, by the way, DKIM, SPF, and DMARC are all optional. The person who owns and runs the mail server can choose to turn them on and configure them differently. So they are tools, but they are not absolutes. It is still possible to have a message get snagged as being malicious when it passes all three of those for other reasons. And there are also messages that could be snagged, like in this case, it had a DMARC fail, and yet it still ended up in my inbox. So when you're looking at these, again, view them with a suspicious eye and analyze them thoroughly before you make your final decisions. So I'm going to close this back and go back to the message itself. It says in the subject, claim your Yeti outdo. Now, the people who are trying to get through email filters know that many email filters, I dare say most of them, examine the subject line and the to and the from lines to see if there's anything in there that has already been flagged as being malicious. So by misspelling, in this case, claim your Yeti outdo, that is not going to come up as being a header or a subject line that they're used to. Claim your Yeti outdoor bundle. That's not what it says. It sort of looks like that, but it's not everything for that. So that's number one. When you see grammar or misspelling, it may be intentional to circumvent mail filters. So just something to think about there. Also, when I look at this, it says it's from Field Museum to members at mail.marthaable.com. And this came yesterday. Well, if you look at this, it says Tractor Supply Company, and it's talking about a Yeti outdoor bundle. Why would someplace named Field Museum at mail.marthaable.com be sending out email from Tractor Supply saying, congratulations, here's your Yeti outdoor bundle, by clicking this and going and filling out our survey or whatever it is? Not going to happen. That should smell fishy to you. But as you're looking at it, also, I'm going to hover over the from line, and you notice it says membership at fieldmuseum.org. Now remember, it said it was addressed to Martha Able, and it came from Field Museum. Neither of those, I dare say, are associated with Tractor Supply. So this already smells fishy. But there is a tool that you can use to make sure. And I'm going to show you this tool in just a second. It's called Fish Tool. You can go to fishtool.com and you can get yourself a free account on Fish Tool. There are free accounts available. Once you log in, you'll be brought to a dashboard that looks like this. I've used this a few times, so you notice it's got some statistics there. But let's go back to this message. I'm going to say view raw message, and then I'm going to highlight the entire message and do copy. Then I will open up a notepad window, and it sort of looks like this. And I have copied everything into it, and then I do a file save. And when you save it, make sure you know where you're saving it to and what it's called. In this case, it used the top line for the actual file name. So it says received from 127.0.0.1.text. That's what it called this message or this text file. All right, so I have that text file. I'm going to go over to Fish Tool and I'm going to say uploads. When I go there, it says drag and drop an email here or choose a file. So if you notice, I already dropped that message in here. I did it yesterday when it arrived so I could do some analysis on it. But it membership at Field Museum to members at mail.marthaable.com, subject claim : your Yeti outdo, etc. All right, so that is the message. So I'm going to click on it, and now we can do some analysis built into fishtool.com, which I really do appreciate. First thing you want to do when you get it is you'll look across the top and look for these little yellow or red flags. In the details, it says there's a return path. This says it's from mail@marthaable.com. But that doesn't match where it says it's from fieldmuseum.org. First red flag. The from line and the return path don't match. That is kind of your first really, really big red flag. It says it's from here, but it actually came from here. In addition, if you go to authentication, you notice it says it passed SPF. Remember, SPF is optional. It passed DKIM, and again, DKIM is optional, but it failed DMARC. It failed DMARC. So you're like, well, this is not a total green flag here. Also, when you look at it under transmission, look at the number of bounces that it went through before it arrived in my inbox. That in itself also is a big question mark where you can say, why would an email have to go through, 14 hops before it arrived in my inbox? This looks suspicious. It came from, by the way, endospa.com.au. When it was first sent to a mail server, it was in Australia, .au. I think it's Australia. AU may be Austria. I'm not quite sure. But in either case, it's not Tractor Supply. And then it went to Outlook, and then here's this one, which that's just IP6 address. You can't even see that very easily. Then it went to Google, Outlook, Office365.com, Outlook, another IP6 address, Google, and then it went to Yahoo, which is my provider, and landed in my inbox. So this thing bounced around the internet for some time before it finally got to where I'm looking at it. And again, if we look at the source, that shows this information. So as I'm looking at this, I'm analyzing this. Remember, that's the point of doing this. I opened up Dashboard, then I opened up Uploads, dropped it into here, and it came over and did an analysis. And as it was looking at it, it said, that Fish Tool said there are problems with the details, there are problems with the authentication, and also when I look at transmission, I see 14 hops. All of those are indicators that this is indeed a fishy email. Get it? Phishing. But so as I'm looking at this, this tells me that most likely this message is indeed fraudulent. So I'm going to go back to my um, Yahoo inbox, and I'm going to do two things with it. Well, actually, a couple. I'm going to forward to report phishing at the anti-phishingworkinggroup.org. I'm going to remove all of my stuff from the start of it to where it says forwarded message, and it'll go from there. And then I'm going to send it. So I have reported that to the anti-phishing working group. But in addition, as I'm looking at it, I'm going to bring it up again. As I'm looking at it, I also want to block the sender. Why? Because if this came from a compromised mailbox or a compromised email server, I don't want to get more from that same server and maybe get fooled the next time. I'm not going to delete all existing emails. I do that so that it stays in my inbox and I can then mark it as spam or phishing in my mail system. So in this case, Yahoo realizes that I've done it. So I'm going to block the sender, which is membership@fieldmuseum.org. And it says block all future emails, so it's not going to come to me again. Block. And then the third thing I do is I click mark as spam. All right, so as I'm looking at this now, I reported it. Number one, I analyzed it, broke it down, looked at the actual message content in text format, saved it off to a separate file, opened up FishTool and dropped it into FishTool and did some analysis on that, and it looked suspicious. It looked like it didn't come from Tractor Supply, and no, they weren't going to give me a Yeti bundle for free, just for filling out their survey. Then what I chose to do is report it to the anti-phishing working group by forwarding from my inbox. Then I blocked the sender, and then I marked it as spam. So now the anti-phishing working group and Yahoo both know that I didn't want this message and I don't want further messages from that particular sender. Lastly, what I can do, I can go in here. I'm going to go here. What I can do is I can go to the log form for our incident response team and log that I made 2 reports. Remember, one to the anti-phishing working group and one reporting as spam. So I'll put my name, my email address, what day I did this, which was today. So I'm going to go down and mark today. How long did I spend at this? Well, there was the analysis, there was the looking at it myself, there was saving it to a separate text file, there was dropping it into the FishTool, doing some analysis over there, and then the reporting. All of those together add up to, I'd say, about 10 minutes total for 2 messages, 2 reports that I did. And I did 2 reports, submit, and now if I'm looking at the spreadsheet that this is dropped into, it shows that on this date, Scotty Ward reports that he spent 10 minutes and reported 2 fraudulent emails. Now, over time, you can report as many as you want. And in fact, at the end of each month, we will give you credit for each month that you've done reports. So for example, I'm looking at January. I spent 3 hours, 50 minutes and did 48 reports. Twyla spent 1 hour, did 10 reports. Sunny Tran, 3 hours, 20 minutes and did 40 reports. You can do as many or as few as you like. William spent 30 minutes and did 1. Fair enough. That 1 was enough for him to get a certificate of participation that says he did incident response analyst work for the month of January 2026, and he can put that as resume credit on his resume. So this is just some interesting stuff I wanted to share with you so that you too can get resume experience credit and learn how to analyze email so that you can say, looks fishy, but let me dig a little bit deeper. All right? I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much.